gave it some props, but other people seem to. It didn't. It got mixed. It got mixed reactions from people. Why do you think that? Do you think it's the lack of humor? Do you think that it's not what they weren't expecting something so mean? I mean, this movie gets mean. Children are killed. Animals are killed. Yeah. Like, this breaks the rules. Do you think that's why it was maybe met with indifference?
The movie is gory as hell. And snarky horror movie, it is not. It's not trying to make jokes. It is saying, look, these vampires, we are their food. That's it. They're not trying to be friendly with anyone. You're going to see blood. You're going to see not only the death of children, but you're going to see children try to murder adults. And it's not like they started it, because Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, the two little kids come and they try to kill the brother in the gas station. So, we didn't start evil zombie children, but you're going to see it anyway. Mm-hmm. And I finished playing with this one, and now can I play with you? They took that from Pet Sematary.
Oh, yeah.
Now I want to play with you.
I wish it said no fair as it was about to get its head cut off.
No fair, no fair. Yeah. But this, and also another thing, horror movies have always, when I was growing up, horror movies always were just, why would you watch this crap? My mother's always saying, why do you watch this crap? So horror movies don't get a chance, And Sigourney Weaver should have absolutely gotten an Oscar for Aliens, but it's a horror sci-fi action movie. That's crap. That's not art.
You know what's funny? I was thinking about this earlier, and I loved what you said. And also, I think in the 70s, horror had a great heyday with Jaws, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Rosemary's Baby, Omen. But then the 80s kick-started the slasher franchise. Now, there were very excellent action, like The Thing. There were some very good horror films in the 80s, but it also leaned towards slashers and chopping mall, stuff like that.
Right.
The 90s had some good ones, but it was also overtaken by The Scream, which then became more kid horror films. And then Freddy and Jason were petering out. And then 2000s became about the remakes. And then this nasty little vampire movie comes out. And it is just, and also, too, the score by Brian Reitzell, the guy originally worked with Coppola. He worked with Sofia Coppola on Virgin Suicide, Lost in Translation. He also did Bling Ring. He did Friday Night Lights, which is one of my favorite scores. I love the score of Friday Night Lights. It's a brilliant score. This guy, if you listen, it's a lot of, what's the word? It's a lot of, there's drum heavy, there's discordant sounds. It's not the traditional soundtrack. It's a very artful, very eclectic, interesting score in it. Yeah. And you have the script based on the comic that has tons of Chekhovs that you could check off anywhere. You have an eventual Oscar winner in Paul Austerberry, who did an excellent job with the production design. You have the director David Slade, who was coming off Hard Candy, which was a good film. And he moved on to Twilight and a few other things, but he came out and he made Hannibal, which is one of my favorite TV shows and one of my favorite
That's a great show.
Filmed shows. I think it's like beautiful and sumptuous to look at. So this is and like you said, it had an excellent cast in it. And this movie, I guess my biggest problem sometimes with horror movies is people just want to say it's so bad it's good, or it was good. But I think this is a good movie.
Yeah. And all the horror movies that you even mentioned, The Thing actually failed at the box office.
Yeah.
And now it's looked at as one of the greatest horror movies of all time. Once you say horror movie, that's a genre film, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be pigeonholed into a genre film. Remember the 80s, you don't want to be in a horror film. You don't want to be on TV. You want to be a dramatic actor. So that's the thing. This movie comes out, you got Josh Hartnett, who at the time was, sexiest man alive candidate, kind of rom-com looking dude. And so he's in this movie and he turns he plays a good role. Then you got Danny Houston. Houston? Okay. The only English he speaks in the entire movie is "no God."
Yeah, that's so bleak, dude.
Yeah, yeah. And he is a terrifying villain in this movie, man. He's creepy as hell. And that's another reason why that Wolverine Origins, when he ends up playing Stryker, is just like, come on, man. You've been so much better than this with far less dialogue. For shame.
Yeah. So I've seen him in some films, and I'm like, why? You're Marlowe.
Yeah. He gets wasted in a lot of stuff. So basically, horror is a genre that has always been slept on, and it takes a lot for a horror movie to finally just break through to the mainstream and just like this movie, in my opinion, this movie should have been a $200-300 million movie.
I agree.
In terms of the money it made, because this is a great horror movie, and it hits the beats it's supposed to hit. There's nothing really surprising other than the fact that the vampires are just complete dicks. up until now, we've seen vampires, like I said, yeah, they're bored with being immortal. They drink blood. And the ones that really are into drinking blood, they're kind of sociopaths, but they're not so much into torture. I think like torture vampire was the closest thing we got to this was, like you mentioned, Interview with a Vampire. Tom Cruise, he kind of liked to play with the hookers before he drained their blood.
Yeah.
And kind of reveal himself. But yeah, before that, Jerry in the original Fright Night,
Suave.
he was cool, he was chill, and he was going to drink your blood. But like before that, he was going to seduce you, and you were going to hang out and drink wine. You know what I'm saying?
Huh.
So this is a dark, dark movie. And that's the one reason why, Ebert doesn't give it the respect it deserves. It didn't. Rest in peace.
He hated horror films, but I do like how he turned over his review to another critic from, I think, Dread Central. And he let that guy finish it out. So I think he wrote, if you're a horror fan, you will love it. And in the interest of equal time for the defense, I close with the evocative prose by the critic Tristan Sins from his 5 dagger out of 5 review on dreadcentral.com. 30 Days a Night grabs this hoary monster by the throat, pumps it full of the thick, rich blood of life, and shoves it out to greet you, eat you, and coat you in glorious mist of red firing from oh so many newly exposed arterial sprays.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, man. Arterial spray, man. This movie is bloody. This movie is disgusting. Oh. Absolutely.
And the commentary is excellent on it too, man.
Who's talking?
So it's Josh Hartnett, Melissa George, and Rob Tappert who are doing. Nice. Yeah, and I really liked it. My favorite part of it is. So, like Josh Hartnett, he's a very articulate guy, and he doesn't hold back. There's a scene where Rob, the producer's like, yeah, man, I don't know if you tell the story. He's like, no, I'm going to tell the story. He's like, I wanted a beard for the movie because you're an Alaskan sheriff. You should have a beard. And they're like, no, you don't get a beard. And he fought for it. And Rob's like, all right. But then they made him wear a fake, kind of like grow a fake. At the end, he has a little bit of a fake beard on it. He's like, so I had to wear a fake beard when I wanted to have a beard. I just thought that was kind of interesting. So he was complaining about that, but he's very articulate. And I also like Melissa George, too, where she didn't just sometimes it's just, when you listen to a lot of commentaries, you notice patterns, but she wasn't just going to let these guys talk. It's like she joined in and shared some really cool stuff. And there's a scene where she was, when they're in a car together. And what I liked, she said that Josh Hartnett and all the cast would stay there on set to read lines off. So if they have a one shot on a character talking to another character, but the other actors would stay on set to read, and they would be there for them to make the performances better. So it showed the how unified everyone was. And then they had this awesome conversation, man, where on a lot of TV shows, you're shooting 24 episodes. And sorry if I'm being redundant here, if you know all this.
No, not at all.
But enjoy yourself. On TV shows, you have to fill 20 to 24 episodes that are 40 minutes long. I mean, that's a lot of work. And so these people do a ton of time on set. And to speed that up, they'll do OTS shot, over the shoulder shots, but they'll have one person stand one place, another person stand another place, and they'll do 2 cameras to film it at once. They'll just knock out. Like the point is just to knock out stuff. Go move. But the problem is when you have 2 cameras working, you kind of, the lighting, you compromise the lighting. So if you have one person in the frame, you can light them beautifully, but it just takes more time. But if you have 2 people in a shot, you can not film it quicker, but you have to compromise on some of the lighting, the positioning. If you have a great one shot, you can shoot it in the position you want. But if you have 2 people over the shoulders, you have to compromise. But I loved how Melissa. So Josh Hartnett's like, man, we should just have 2 people, 2 cameras. And Melissa's like, well, I worked on Alias, and what we noticed was when you do these shots, it compromises light. And then in this movie, the way he wanted it framed was for that, so we really couldn't do it. And they just had an in-depth discussion about shooting it as TV in the movies, and she busted this out, and Hartnett's like, yeah, you're right. So it's kind of cool. He was like bitching about it, and then Melissa George just said, no, like this is the way that it does, and this is what happens. And I don't know. I thought as a movie nerd, I dug that because they just had a discussion, and then Hartnett was like, yeah, you're right. I was wrong. It was cool.
But are you a movie nerd, or are you just a guy who is ready to put his vision upon the screen?
Yeah.
This is my question. Everything that you've been saying throughout all of these podcasts, you know clearly what composition is. You know what lighting is. You know what blocking is.
Yeah.
You know what not being a plank of wood staring at a cue card is. Why have we not had the Mark Hoffmeyer experience? I want to make a vampire movie with Mark Hoffmeyer and the wife and the other guys on the podcast, okay? And in this vampire movie, we're trying to figure out why it is that during the vampire epidemic, we cannot get a good pizza delivered to us under 30 minutes or less.
Oh, I could direct that. So what I would do is I would storyboard it first, and we don't have much of a budget. So what I would do is I would figure out the production design and wardrobe first. So every character would have a palette. I would establish the palette right off the bat. So we don't have any money, but if we have a color palette where we use we go heavy on green, yellow, gray throughout the house, we establish a common tone and already makes it look more expensive. And then what I would do was, you'd have to go through the script. If I have a script ready, you lock it down and you storyboard, lock every script down, do the scheduling, put it into like Celtics, do all the scheduling, do up some call sheets. I'd make Meg produce because she's better with money. Find the cameras, plan all the shots, rehearse a lot. So if we rehearse a lot, that doesn't cost us money. So when we're shooting, renting equipment, that doesn't cost us as much. I can knock it out in 12 days.
Totally. And not only that, the goal of the group is to get a pizza during the vampire apocalypse because, we're at that part of the apocalypse where things are on the brink of falling apart, but they haven't yet. So there's still the possibility of getting a food delivery. And we get conflict because no 4 people can agree on what should be on a pizza. The dialogue, as people try to figure out what is the best pizza for the group to get, the final pizza before civilization collapses, the dialogue reveals the innate character flaws and underlying conflicts that have been bubbling underneath through this group for decades.
And bang. Do vampires attack in the middle of it, and then we kill them, and then we go back to arguing?
That's right. And then the twist is the pizza delivery guy was a vampire all along. Holy cow!
Oh mackerel, that sounds amazing. Holy mackerel! Do you know that I wrote a vampire script? Where,
of course you did.
Yeah, so I actually have a vampire script that it was going to be turned into a play, and we were going to do a play. Long story, but we were gonna start building, and we had done open readings, and we were gonna do castings, and yeah, it kind of fell through. But we had a vampire script ready to go, and then I don't know, man. I moved to Korea. I had to get some stuff going. Went got my master's. I shot a documentary out there. I did a bunch of shooting, and then I just got into the film industry, and I just when you don't know your way, when you don't really have like a mentor, I just started working on sets. I didn't know any better, so I was just making other people's movies, and then eventually I was like, I just need to write, and that's where I'm at now.
Dude, I'm telling you, Vampire Pizza, Act 1, we get introduced to the characters, we're dropped right into the middle. This is where we get our exposition and introduction of the characters out of the way. Act 2, oh snap, what's wrong with Meg? Is she changing? Is she just sick? What's going on? All right. Act 3, the pizza's on its way, but there's also something wrong with Meg. Holy cow. We got to fix everything. Boom.
And then
that's the 3 acts.
I like it. Let's write it. Let's do an audio play for it. Let's write it and then perform it.
Yo, talk to the guys. Ladies and gentlemen, you are witnessing it first, man. Vampire Pizza, a.k.a. The Bloodening.
I like that. Another person should get bit, and they're like, I should get the choice. This is my last meal. Like, I just get to do blood after this. Like, I should be able to enjoy a sausage and pepper pizza.
Dude, you know that once you turn into a vampire, I can't eat garlic. Oh, my God, garlic is my favorite topping.
Oh, man.
What do you mean no anchovies? What kind of a jerk doesn't like fish?
Guys, I got to drink blood after this. Just let me get the pizza I want.
Dude, I drink blood all the time. It's no big deal. Why do you think my skin's so nice? Gasp! Oh, yes, I've been a vampire all along. Da, da, da.
Oh, is that what you were doing? So